right. Mrs. Turner, can I have a motion to reconvene the public session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Trompe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are back in public session. Good evening, folks. We are going to be in section 4.
Excuse me, Mrs. Fitzwater. If I could address the audience very quickly, as you are aware, face masks are a requirement. Being inside a public school building, I do recognize that some of the guests who are here with us this evening may have opted to not wear a face mask. At this point, I am requesting that anybody in the audience who is not wearing a face mask to please do so. Once again, I am asking that any members of the audience who are not wearing a face mask, if you would, please wear a face mask.
Medical exemption. That's what I'm not aware of.
Mrs. Fitzwater?
We're going to be in section 4, the routine business. Letter A, the board secretary's report for June 2021. The treasurer's report for June 2021. The budget receipt and transfers for June 2021. The monthly transfer report as up to August 24th, 2021. The high school activities report for June and July of 2021. The food service management cost performance statement for June of 2021. The certified bill list, July 1st through July 31st, June 3rd through June 30th, and August 1st through August 25th, all 2021. And approval of minutes, the regular minutes for June 8th, the confidential minutes session A for June 8th, the confidential minutes session B for June 8th, special meeting minutes for June 23rd, confidential minutes for session A, June 23rd, confidential minutes for session B, June 23rd, special meeting minutes for August 25th, and the confidential minutes for August 25th. Mr. Kenny, can I have a motion to approve section 4, routine business, letters A through H?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gaffney. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mrs. Quinn?
Abstain. I abstain from 4H. Aye.
I abstained from 4H, yes to everything else.
I, with the exception that I abstain on 4H, the minutes for June 23rd, regular and confidential.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to section 5, routine matters. We have the enrollment report for as of August 28th, 2021. The health report for June 2021, the fire alarm report for June and July 2021, the crisis drill report for June, July, and August 2021. There is no HIP report, and the superintendent's monthly report, Mr. Capello.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzwater. Thank you to members of the board for your long evening this evening, and thank you to members of the public who have chosen to join us here. It's August 31st. We know what that means. There's a lot going on. The start of school is right around the corner, and I know for me, the members of the board, the members of the administrative staff, this is certainly the most exciting time of our summer as we anticipate the arrival of, as of today, 2,733 Cinnaminson students, a new record for enrollment at the start of the school year. We've got a lot to celebrate as we look forward to the 21-22 school year, including but not limited to the start of our first full-day kindergarten class. We are in the middle of our new teacher orientation session right now. Today was day 1, tomorrow is day 2. I see some of our folks are here with us in the audience. This has also been the largest new teacher class that we've had in Cinnaminson, at least in the last 10 years. We're very excited about the talent pool that has come to us. It's a talented group of educators, and I'm inspired by their motivation to want to work with the students in our community. This is also the time of year where we start to welcome students back via our various orientation programs. We're very happy to have some of them taking place in person this year. A lot of the things that we weren't able to do last year, we're excited about this year, including our kindergarten orientation, where our now full-time kindergarten students had an opportunity to ride a bus for the first time, come in and meet with their teachers, and get a little bit of insight as to what it's like to be a kindergarten student. We also changed up the way we do our programs at the Rush School and at the middle school, where now our incoming 3rd graders and incoming 6th grade students had an opportunity, just like the kindergarten students, to come in and visit with the school, meet their teachers, and take away some of that first day angst and anxiety that might travel with them as they start a new school in our district. We'll be looking forward to continuing this with our high school freshman orientation program, which takes place tomorrow night. And if I could put a quick plug in, if you've seen it on our social media pages, on our website, there will be an additional vaccination clinic offered tomorrow in conjunction with the high school freshman locker night. There's also a lot going on in a typical year, getting our buildings ready to go for the school year. Mr. Tyndall is in the back along with his supervisor, Mr. Zemecki. I'd like to commend the work of our great members of the buildings and ground staff. Our schools look great. They are ready for students, but for a few finishing touches. We also have some key additions this year that I'm very proud of the work that they have done preparing. As I mentioned, 2,733 students, given the same footprint of the school. We had to expand our space and get creative with adding new spaces to the district. We're very proud that for the start of school next week on 9/9, we'll be opening 8 new classrooms via our learning cottages at the New Albany School and our learning cottages at the Eleanor Rush School. That's 4 new classrooms each to accommodate our growing population. We're very excited about that. The board got to tour them earlier this evening, and they absolutely look fantastic, and none of the work would be possible at all, again, without Mr. Tyndall and the gentleman on his crew help make that happen. We are also moved our preschool program over to the Memorial School, so what was retired previously non-operating school will once again host kids on a daily basis. We were able to refurbish and rehash those rooms all in-house. The board got to tour them earlier this evening. They look fantastic, and we're really excited to welcome our Bright Eyes, our pre-K, and our IPK program over to the Memorial School as well. So a little update of all the things that we are looking forward to in the district. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank publicly all of our teachers who have been in the summer prepping their classrooms, all of our administrators who didn't get to take a lot of vacation last summer and thought that this summer would add some relief, and it really hasn't, as there is still a lot in flux, and they've been working really hard to prepare our schools, and we're really proud of their work. I'd like to recognize them now. Mr. Gorman is here. Mr. Gorman, thank you for your work at the high school. New principal at the middle school, Ms. Melcher, Mrs. DeSimone from the Rush School, and Mrs. Jones from the New Albany School. Thank you to you and your team and your office staff and your teachers for all of the great work you have done this summer. Also like to recognize Mrs. Llewellyn and the work she has done with the special education and the child study team, and also the nurses getting ready for another exciting school year, Dr. Goulburn with the curriculum. And last but not least, Ms. Joanne Tomkowitz, our transportation supervisor, who does a fantastic job preparing our fleet of buses for the school year. So, moving right along, I did prepare a very, very brief presentation, as this evening we are officially looking to vote on and adopt our return to school plan that we have dubbed the Pirate Path Forward. And to simplify some of the things that are in the document, I prepared a couple of slides that outline things as they existed in 2020 for the start of school year and how we anticipate them to look for 2021. So excited about what hopes to be an uninterrupted school year, returning back to full-day instruction. And I'll highlight a couple of these slides along the way. So just like last summer, we did engage a reopening task force, and a special thank you to all the members who are listed up on this slide right here for their help and assistance in meeting weekly, bi-weekly throughout the course of the summer as things were changing and coming our way out of Trenton. We met regularly representing the various stakeholder groups throughout the district to make sure that our plan was in compliance with any mandates that were out there, and also changing to meet the needs of our students and staff in the district. Our guidance was based on the Road Forward published by the New Jersey Department of Education, which I imagine a number of the folks in the audience this evening have familiarized themselves with and the details of. So again, all of our guidance is based off of what we received from the New Jersey Department of Education, New Jersey Department of Health, and also some information that we received in our bi-weekly meetings with the Burlington County Department of Health. So I'd like to touch on a couple of the points from our plan. Number one is vaccination. I'm very pleased with the efforts that we had in terms of offering vaccination clinics on site in this building. Over at our high school, we hosted 2 of them as early back as last spring and as late as the clinic that we're hosting tomorrow evening in an attempt to promote vaccination throughout the community. I'll skip that slide for a moment. So reopening 2020 versus reopening 2021. Obviously, going into this year, we saw the governor's executive order that we know that when we return to school this year, despite conversations that began in the spring of last year and continued throughout the summer, we know that at least to start the school year, masks will be a mandate. And again, that was covered under the governor's executive order on August 6, 2021, EO 251. Student belongings. Last year, we didn't utilize lockers. Students were using individual supplies, no communal sharing of those supplies. And at the middle school and high school, we did not use the locker room for changing for phys ed class. So this year and every year, we still promote individual student supplies and limiting any communal supplies wherever possible and wherever practical in the district. We are bringing back student lockers this year, particularly at the middle school and the high school where they use those lockers. And at least for now, we know at the middle school and the high school that we're not going to be employing locker rooms for PE for at least the first quarter, and we'll reassess that at the end of the first quarter. Social distancing and food services, the two are coupled together for purposes of this slide. We knew when we started the year that we were in a hybrid system last year. Kids were coming every other day, with Wednesdays, or Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, and Wednesday was a virtual day for all. So our classrooms were half subscribed, which allowed for 6-foot distancing. That changed just after the midway point in the year, where we were able to move to a range of 3 to 6 foot spacing. So that is where we will start the year this year, with a range of 3 to 6 foot spacing, and our class sizes are now reflecting full instruction with no hybrid. We were lunches in classrooms strictly last year, and this year we'll be moving our lunches back to the cafeteria, with some exceptions at the high school, where we're trying out a new lunch program, which for any of our high school families in the audience, you received communications from Mr. Gorman in terms of what lunch is going to look like, an exciting new smart lunch program that's happening at the high school. Just like last year too, I'd like to point out that all lunches will be free for this year for all students. Health screenings for our parents in the audience. You know, last year we did daily health screening forms. We also did daily temperature checks. This year we're moving to an attestation system, where essentially we're asking parents to cross-reference a symptom list and attest to the fact that they will not send students if they are polysymptomatic with COVID symptoms. And we are eliminating the daily temperature checks. Just a couple more slides here. Extracurricular activities were one of the sad things about last year, in that we had to limit them in some circumstances. We also had a lot of quarantines that came up as a result, not necessarily of transmission on the teams, but for some of the students who were involved. So we had some delays for some of our sports. We were limited what we did with clubs. A lot of them went virtual. And for those of you maybe parents of drama students, you know that at the high school we did our drama, high school and the middle school, purely virtually. At the middle school too, sports were not a part of the lexicon until the spring, and we had limited and virtual clubs here, and we eliminated them at the rush school last year. And the long and the short of it in 2021 is we're hoping to bring everything back with limited restrictions. Anything that is able to run in person, we hope to be able to do so for this year, from rush all the way up through the high school. Again, I referenced last year we were on a hybrid schedule. This year, all students, all day, every day. We know from the Department of Ed that there will not be a virtual option afforded to parents this year, but we will have a little carve out there for students who are on the mandatory quarantine list, as referenced and decided by our school nurse. Students that are on the mandatory quarantine list will be able to synchronously learn alongside the students in their classroom, but again, it will be limited only to students who are on the quarantine list. And the last slide I have here is a district technology update. At the beginning of the year last year, many of our parents know that we reached out to families that were in need of an extra device at home. To give you a little bit of the history, early on in COVID days like February 2020, we sent a poll out to parents asking who needed technology support at home. And I think maybe folks just didn't understand the breadth of what we were looking at in terms of virtual and at-home instruction. And the feedback we got as a district was that our folks at home were in really good shape in terms of access to high-speed internet and in access to devices. And I think the practicality of having students at home set in, and that really we couldn't share computers and couldn't share iPads. And so we realized that we needed a lot more district devices to make available to students. Thank you to Mr. Creel, who is actually in the other room managing the technology. We acquired a lot of Chromebooks and made them available to students at the beginning of last year to anybody at home that needed them. This year we are continuing to move in that direction thanks to some federal funds made available to us through ESSER, and also through the ECF funds in the federal program. We're going to have access to be able to continue towards a one-to-one initiative in the district. We've run into some supply constraints. You've heard that throughout COVID in terms of access to technology. So at this point we are moving forward from the rush school on up with our plan to be able to get closer to one-to-one, hopefully by the mid-year point, but obviously devices will be made available to any students in need, and that includes internet access as well. We're still making that available to any students or parents who need them. And obviously if a student is placed on quarantine and they don't have a technology device, but they would need one to be able to synchronously learn alongside them, our buildings will have a supply made available to them. So that said, those were the highlights for the board in terms of comparing learning 2020 versus 2021 and some of the finer items that I'm looking forward to bringing back and returning to school for this year. And with that, Mrs. Fitzwater, that concludes the superintendent's report for this board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Mrs. Trompe, can I have a motion to approve Section 5, letters A through F?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Bromhall?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. We have no student representative reports this month, but we look forward to those next month. That was our only presentation?
That's correct.
Okay. Correspondence to the board. Anybody have anything there? Okay, moving to Section 9, committee reports. We had 2 committees meet this month, the Curriculum Committee and the Facility and Transportation Committee. And I believe, Mrs. Turner, you're going to give us the highlights of both of those meetings.
Yes. The Facilities and Transportation Committee met on Tuesday, August 25th, 2021, at 8:45 p.m. Committee members discussed the use of school facilities for the fall and agreed to make the school facilities available for use effective October 1st, 2021. The learning cottages are in place at both Rush School and New Albany School and will be finalized during the week of August 30th, 2021. Final inspections are underway and furnishings are being moved in over this weekend. Under transportation matters, committee members were informed of the need to retain a licensed site remediation professional from T&M Associates for the removal of the underground fuel tanks. The plan will be to replace them with above-ground tanks. 3 of the new 54-passenger school buses have arrived this past week. The 29-passenger school buses with wheelchair lift is expected later in the year. And then our Curriculum and Student Activities Committee report met on Tuesday, August 10th. The committee met with members of the high school administration to review their plan to move a single lunch period for the coming school year. The purpose of this shift was discussed, along with the impact on the schedule and the logistics of ordering food and where students would be able to eat. The committee received an update on the NJDOE's Start Strong assessment, which will be given in the fall to the New Jersey students who were supposed to take the NJSLA last spring. The assessments are for math, science, and language arts and are substantially shorter than the NJSLA. More information will be provided in the coming weeks. Professional development and field trips requests were also reviewed, as were routine items for the August agenda, such as HIB grades, evaluation, instruments, excuse me, and certain grant applications. Lastly, the committee reviewed requests for new stipend positions for equity team leaders, as well as new esports club at the middle school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Turner. Mrs. Quinn, can I have a motion to approve the Section 9 committee reports, letter A?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Trompe. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Bromhall?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving to Section 10, public comment on items appearing on the agenda. Got none. We will move to Section 11, personnel certificated. Mr. Capello.
Thank you again, Mrs. Fitzwater. And as you can imagine, it's been a very busy hiring season here in Cinnaminson, so I do have a number of items. Under Section 11, Personnel Certificated, letter A, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the resignation for personal reasons of Amanda Phillips, special education teacher at the Rush Intermediate School. Under number 2, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the resignation of Shania McCormick, MD kindergarten teacher at the New Albany School, effective retroactive to August 6, 2021. And under number 3, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the resignation for personal reasons of Nicole Adamski, special education teacher at the New Albany School, effective on or before October 19, 2021. Under letter B, appointments, for expedience sake, I will refer everyone to the agenda and seeking the board to approve the appointments of items number 1 through item 19. Under letter C, teaching overload, seeking the board to approve the following certificated staff members for a teaching overload for the 21-22 school year, and those names are listed with their respective courses in the agenda. Under number 2, seeking the board to approve Suzanne Kerr for an overage for ELL, and under number 3, seeking the board to approve Anthony Fultz for counseling overload to provide student mental health counseling paid for by CRRSA ESSER 2 funds. Under letter D, memorandum of agreement, seeking the board to approve a sidebar agreement between the Cinnaminson Board of Education and the Cinnaminson Education Association to amend the collective bargaining agreements. Under letter E, transfers and classroom moves, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the transfers and classroom buildings of the following staff effective retroactive to June 30th, 2021, and those names are listed along with their respective moves in the agenda, and then effective July 1st, 2021, at a different rate, and those names are listed with their respective moves in the agenda. Under letter F, salary adjustment, seeking the board to approve a salary adjustment for Chelsea Derry, speech therapist at the New Albany School, moving from full-time to part-time. Under letter G, extra duty appointment, seeking the board to approve the extra duty assignment for the 2021 school year as attached. Seeking the board to approve Brooke Kaffenberg, speech therapist at the Rush Intermediate School, to 3 additional summer days. Under number 3, seeking the board to approve the following technology representatives at their respective buildings, and those names and their buildings are listed in the agenda. Under number 4, seeking the board to approve Kathy Jenkins, speech therapy at the New Albany School, for 1 additional summer day of work. Number 5, seeking the board to approve the following teachers for the summer PLC work in Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry, retroactive to August 10th, 2021, for up to 8 hours, paid for with ESSER 2 funds. And those names are Nicole Arbelez and Anne-Marie Barrett. Number 6, seeking the board to approve the following teachers for sheltered instruction training up to 15 hours, and they are listed by school in the agenda under item number 6. Number 7, seeking the board to approve the following teachers for kindergarten PLC work up to 12 hours to be paid with ESSER 2 funds, and those names are listed under number 7 in the agenda. Under number 8, seeking the board to approve the following new teaching staff members for training on the district's literacy series up to 6 hours, and those names are listed under number 8 in the agenda. Under number 9, seeking the board to approve Ed Palmer, department supervisor at the high school, as the environmental compliance officer for the 21-22 school year. And under number 10, seeking the board to approve Ed Palmer, department supervisor at the high school, to update curriculum in chemistry to align with CUSAC expectations. No leave of absences this meeting. Under letter I, substitute teachers and nurses. Number 1, seeking the board to reappoint substitute nurses to be called on an as-needed basis. Under number 2, seeking the board to increase the permanent substitute teacher daily rate of pay effective September 1st, 2021. Seeking the board to approve the following permanent substitute teachers to work 4 days per week, and they are listed by school in the agenda. And under number 4, seeking the board to approve the following substitute teachers to be called on an as-needed basis for the remainder of the 21-22 school year. They are listed under number 4 in the agenda. Under letter J, tutors, seeking the board to reappoint Caitlin McKinley as a tutor to be called on an as-needed basis for the 21-22 school year. Student teachers, seeking the board to approve the student teachers listed under item K, numbers 1 through 7, as listed in the agenda. Student teachers to join us for the 21-22 school year and their respective cooperating teachers. Under letter L, ID preschool fund, seeking the board to approve $18,073 portion of salary to be paid to Kate Johnson as a part of the special education preschool program at Memorial School, funded by the IDEA preschool funds for the 21-22 school year. And under letter M, seeking the board to approve mentor teachers for the provisional teachers, and they are listed by school with respective provisional and mentor teachers in the agenda. Mrs. Fitzwater, that is the certificated staff section of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Mr. Bromhall, can I have a motion to approve Section 11, Personnel Certificated Items A through M?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mrs. Quinn?
Aye to everything except for 11B14. I vote no.
Aye.
Aye, except for 11G1, I abstain.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. Moving on to Section 12, non-certificated. Mr. Capello.
Thank you once again, Mrs. Fitzwater. I am under Section 12, letter A, resignations, retirements. Number 1, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the resignation for personal reasons of Deidre Kane, special education aide in classroom at the middle school, retroactive to July 7th, 2021. Under number 2, seeking the board to ratify and affirm the resignation for personal reasons of Mary Kearns Pencost, cafeteria and playground aide at the Rush School, retroactive to August 1st, 2021. And under number 3, seeking the board to accept the resignation for personal reasons of Rebecca Abrams, BSIP aide at the New Albany School, effective August 31st, 2021. Under letter B, leave of absences, seeking the board to approve the unpaid leave of absence in conjunction with FMLA for employee number 100042, effective on or about September 27th through December 23rd, 2021. Under number 2, seeking the board to approve the extension of an unpaid leave of absence for employee number 101217 to on or about October 29th, 2021. And under number 3, seeking the board to approve an unpaid leave of absence, which is in conjunction with the Family Medical Leave Act for employee number 100613, effective August 30th to on or about November 23rd, 2021. Under letter C, appointments, reappointments, and adjustments. Under number 1, seeking the board to approve the reappointment of Tiffany Pinto, the position of special education aide, ABA Tech, effective September 9th. Under number 2, seeking the board to approve the request for the following New Albany School cafeteria and playground aides to be increased from 2 hours daily to 2.5 hours daily, and that's because of the addition of our full-day kindergarten program, where now our kindergartners will be eating lunch with us during the day. Those names, their steps, and their salary adjustments are listed under number 2 in the agenda. Under number 3, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Kiana Hawkins Deravin to the position of Special Education ABA Tech at the New Albany School, 6.75 hours daily, effective September 8th, 2021. Seeking the board to approve the appointment of Alexa Lewis to the position of Special Education Aide at the New Albany School. Number 5, seeking the board to approve the transfer appointment of Tracy Walker from the position of full-time bookkeeper to Central Registrar in the Curriculum Office, effective October 1st. Number 6, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Alexander Pritchard to the position of Special Education Aide ABA Tech at the high school, effective September 8th, 2021. Number 7, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Andrew Pullen to the position of Special Education Classroom Aide, 6.75 hours daily. Under number 8, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Melissa Walling to the position of Special Education Classroom Aide, effective September 8th, 2021. Under number 9, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Rachel Geberich to the position of 10-month secretary attendance at the high school. Under number 10, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Lauren Luciano to the position of cafeteria playground aide at the New Albany School. Number 11, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Teresa Egan to the position of classroom aide at the New Albany School, 5.75 hours daily. Under number 12, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Ebony Johnson to the position of Special Education Aide in the classroom, step 10. Under number 13, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Heather Canning to the position of cafeteria and playground aide at the New Albany School. Under number 14, seeking the board to approve the request for Maureen Rowan, BSIP aide at the New Albany School, to be increased from 4 days a week to 5 days a week, and that's to provide additional support for students learning on quarantine. Under number 15, seeking the board to approve a change to the contracted school bus driver salaries to reflect an increase for Step A and Step A on the guide for the 22-23 school year. Under number 16, seeking the board to approve a salary adjustment for the following school bus drivers, and they are listed in the agenda. And under number 17, seeking the board to approve the appointments of the following school bus drivers effective September 1st, 2021. They are listed with their coordinating step in the agenda. Under number 18, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Amy Kirchner to the position of cafeteria playground aide at the Rush School, 2.5 hours daily, effective September 9th, 2021. Under number 19, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Kelly Talbert to the position of cafeteria playground aide, 2.5 hours daily, effective September 9th. And under number 20, seeking the board to approve the appointment of Patricia Verderami to the position of BSIP aide at the New Albany School, 6 hours daily, effective September 7th, 2021. Under letter D, transfer, seeking the board to approve the transfer of Maya to Case K, special education aide from the Rush School to the middle school, to the high school. Under letter E, extra duty, the board ratifies and affirms Danielle Schweed as special education aide in the SMART program that's retroactive June 28th to July 22nd. Under letter F, job description, seeking the board to approve the following job descriptions, and that's for a teacher, library, media specialist, E17. Under letter G, substitute, seeking the board to reappoint substitute teachers for the 20 substitute aides to be called on an as-needed basis for the 21-22 school year. Under number 2, seeking the board to approve Bonnie Fabiani, Sarah Pitt, June Newman, and Cynthia Davis as substitute teacher aides to be called on an as-needed basis for the 21-22 school year. Number 3, seeking the board to approve Jeffrey Gurl as a substitute school bus driver to be called on an as-needed basis for the 21-22 school year. Under number 4, seeking the board to approve Stacy Moran, Donna Benner, and Robert Brown to be called on to be substitute school bus aides to be called on an as-needed basis for the 21-22 school year. Under number 5, seeking the board to approve Robert Dreyer and Grace Dreyer as summer student bus aides to be called on an as-needed basis, and that's retroactive for the 2021 and remainder of the summer months. The school, under number 6, seeking the board to approve Kate Harding as volunteer in the Rush Summer Camp program under the supervision of Jen Alvarado, tennis instructor. And under number 7, seeking the board to approve the following fall volunteer coaches under the supervision of their respective head coaches, and they are listed as under number 7 in the agenda. And seeking the board to approve Donna Goodjunis as substitute bookkeeper in the business office clerk effective August 31st, 2021 for a maximum 25 hours weekly. Under letter H, IDEA preschool fund, seeking the board to ratify and affirm a portion of the salary, 76.11% of the approved salary for Jennifer Colonna Romano, special education ABA Tech at New Albany School, to be funded with IDEA preschool grants retroactive to July 1st. Whew. And that is certificated staff, non-certificated staff. And when you're done, I want to introduce some folks.
And that is a busy summer. Mr. Gaffney, can I have a motion to approve personnel non-certificated items A through H?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Bromhall?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved.
So we do have a fun tradition here in Cinnaminson where whenever possible, we have new teachers joining our ranks. When they're approved by the board, we invite them to come to the board meeting, and I noticed a couple of them were able to be here with us this evening. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to, we'll start with Mrs. DeSimone. Mrs. DeSimone, do you have any folks to introduce here that are on your squad?
Oh, yes, okay. This is personnel
Welcome, Krista.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. DeSimone. Mrs. Jones, you're up.
So with us this evening, we have Olivia Choi, who's a Rowan graduate. She's been an RBT at New Albany for the past 5 years, and now she's joining us as our MD 1-2 teacher. Welcome, Olivia. And then we have Maureen Wade, who is a Cinnaminson High School graduate, as well as coming back to us after teaching elsewhere for about 10 years, and she's joining us as our integrated preschool teacher.
And thank you. Welcome to the district. I know you'll be very happy here. And finally, I suppose my person to introduce for once, I get to introduce a new staff member, Melissa Livingood. Melissa, if you could say hi to the folks. Melissa will be joining us after the retirement of Mr. Egan to the position of school business administrator and board secretary. Welcome to Cinnaminson, Melissa. I know you're going to love it here. Okay, and thank you for catching my failure to introduce down there. Appreciate it.
All right. We are moving to Section 13, Curriculum and Instruction. Dr. Goldburn.
Thank you very much. Under 13, letter A, requesting board approval of the professional development requests that are attached. Under letter B, requesting approval of the field trip requests that are attached. Under letter C, requesting board approval of the instructional material for Spanish 1 at the middle school and 8th grade and possibly in the high school. Under letter D, requesting board approval of the revised calendar for the upcoming school year, which makes December 10th a full day of school for kindergarten. Under letter E, requesting approval of the disposal of the textbooks that are listed in the attachment from the middle school. Under letter F, requesting board approval of the HIB grades from not last year, the year before that, the 2019-2020 school year. Those grades are out of a maximum of 78, and those are based on compliance with the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. Under letter G, the annual readoption of the evaluation instruments for the upcoming school year, the New Jersey Principal Evaluation for Professional Learning tool for principals and supervisors, and the Danielson 2013 tool for teachers and all other certificated staff. Under letter H, number 1, requesting board approval of the submission of the ESEA grant for the upcoming year. And under number 2, requesting approval of the submission of the ARP ESSER grant for the 21-22 school year. Under letter I, the board approves the building level and the district level professional development plans for the upcoming school year and the PDP statement of assurance. And lastly, under letter J, the board approves the following non-classified out-of-district placements for the upcoming school year, and those student ID numbers are printed in the agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Goldburn. Mrs. Trompe, can I have a motion to approve Section 13, Curriculum and Instruction, items A through J?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gaffney. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mrs. Quinn?
Aye.
Aye, but I abstain from 13A.
Aye, but I abstain from 13A.
Aye, but I abstain from 13A.
Aye, but I abstain from 13A, line 22.
Aye, but I abstain from 13A, line 21.
Aye, I accept 13A, line 18. Motion is approved. And now we move on to special education and Mrs. Llewellyn.
Thank you. Under letter A, contract, there are none. Under letter B, consultant agreement, requesting the board approve the following consultant agreements for the 2021-22 school year. We have 4. The first one is Speech Language Associates to provide speech language therapy as requested by the district at the following rates as listed in the agenda. Number 2, Making Friends Social Center to provide social skills services as requested by the district at the rates listed in the agenda. Number 3, Kenyon Learning and Consulting LLC to provide assistive technology as requested by the district at the rate of $1,000 per evaluation. And number 4, Barbara C. Feinblum to provide home instruction as requested by the district at $75 per hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Llewellyn. Mr. Kenny, can I have a motion to approve Section 14, Special Education, Item B?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Turner. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mrs. Quinn?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Moving on to Section 15, policies. Mr. Capello.
Thank you once again, Mrs. Fitzwater. Under number 1, seeking the board approve on second reading and adoption the following policies and regulations that are listed in the agenda. Under number 2, seeking the board to approve the abolishing of the following policy on first reading, and that's P1648, remote learning options for families. And I should also point out that policy 1648, the original Pirate Path Back, is also going to be, the motion is also going to include abolishing that policy, as well as it will be replaced with the Pirate Path Forward. And under number 3, recommend the board suspend bylaw 0131, requiring 2 readings and 2 separate Board of Education meetings for policy adoption of policy 164811, the Pirate Path Forward, policy 164805, mask mandate policy, and policy 1648.13, school employee vaccination requirements. That is the policy section.
Thank you, Mr. Capello. Mrs. Turner, can I have a motion to approve Section 15, Item A?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Trompe. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Bromhall?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 16, we're going to Business and Finance. Mr. Egan.
Okay, thank you. Under letter A, grants, that the board accepts the 2021-22 non-public funds for item A, non-public textbook aid, B, non-public nursing services aid, C, non-public technology aid, D, non-public security aid, and E, non-public chapters 192, 193 aid as attached. Item 2, that the board approves the submission of the IDEA Part B application and acceptance of funds for the 2021-22 school year as attached. Under letter B, finance, that the board approves the withdrawal from capital reserve excess costs in the amount of $500,000 to be withdrawn from the Board of Education's approved capital reserve account as other capital project costs for the state-approved projects relating to the New Albany School and Rush Intermediate School learning cottages. Item 2, that the board approves the withdrawal from capital reserve excess costs of the amount of $75,000 to be withdrawn from the Board of Education's approved capital reserve account as other capital project costs for the state projects relating to the Memorial School preschool program. Under letter C, operations, we have 2 items. That the board approves the initial applications for temporary instructional space for the learning cottages at New Albany and Eleanor Rush Intermediate Schools for the 2021-22 school year as attached. Item 2, that the board approves the disposal of 5 expired school buses. Under letter D, under contracts, we have a number of them this evening. One is the board approves the shared service agreement between the Township of Cinnaminson and the Cinnaminson Township Board of Education for Class 3 Special Law Enforcement Officers for the 2021-22 school year as attached. Item 2, the board approves the consulting service agreement with the Educational Consortium for Telecommunication Savings for the 2021-22 school year. Item 3, that the board approves participation in the shared services for a public information officer provided by Haddon Township School District as the lead agency and within the Uniform Shared Services and Consolidated Act for the 2021-22 school year and the 22-23 school years with an annual fee of $5,000. Item 4, that the board approves the agreement with Cooper Health System to provide at least 1 sports medicine physician at each of the Cinnaminson High School home football games for the 2021-22 school year football season at no cost to the district. Item 5, that the board approves participation in a class action suit with regards to the damages associated with Juul and electronic cigarettes as attached. Item 6, requesting approval for the non-resident tuition contracts. And going on to E, just your final thing, asking for approval, please.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mrs. Quinn, can I have a motion to approve Section 16, Business and Finance, letters A through D?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Trompe. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Bromhall?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. 17, other business?
Back to
Mr.
me. Thank you,
Capello?
Mrs. Fitzwater. Under other business, we have one item, and that is a pending grievance before the board, and under the superintendent's recommendation, asking the board to deny CEA grievance 2021-1. Make a motion to approve that, Mrs. Fitzwater.
Okay. Mr. Gaffney, can I have a motion to approve Section 17, Item A?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Trempe. Comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Mr. Bromhall?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
I will abstain.
I'm going to abstain.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
That motion does not pass.
Motion does not pass. Moving on to Section 18, public comments on other matters.
So at this point, we would open the board meeting up for members of the public that would wish to speak. As per board policy, would ask that you state your name and address for the record. We would typically invite folks to come to the microphone to speak. I will ask that any folks that have chosen to disobey the request to wear a mask, that you would please remain at your seats to share your comments, but again, we would still ask that you share your name and address for the record. At this time, the floor is open.
Hi, my name is Asha Quinn. I live at 110 Winding Brook. I have 2 kids in the district. One is starting middle school and the other one is starting high school. The township Facebook sites led me to believe that this week's hot topics were going to be masks in schools and critical race theory. As to masks, my younger child was quarantined for exposure twice this month within a 14-day period. Once, he was exposed to a child of his own age outdoors, but was relatively close for a long period of time. The second exposure was to a vaccinated adult with a breakthrough infection. I am grateful that he was fine. And I'm grateful that it's summertime and he didn't miss school. Because although my son did okay during remote learning, he certainly was not thriving. I would like to thank the board for listening to the vast majority of medical professionals and scientists and for following the state guidelines to keep our children in school. I'm a little disheartened to see that there's people who are right now in this room without masks on, and that challenge was very brief. I'm hoping that when the kids go back to school, if someone's going to claim a medical exemption, that they better have a doctor's note, because I don't want my kid being quarantined for even longer this year than he was last year. I also understand that some parents have concerns about the introduction of critical race theory to our social studies curriculum. Critical race theory says that institutions and policies can be just as racist as people can, and that is it. It doesn't say that white people are bad, or lazy, or stupid. People who object to critical race theory are upset because the next step is the discussion about whether we change those policies, how we change them, and who should be responsible for changing them. And there's many of our neighbors who don't want to change them at all, and so they want to pretend that they never existed. Redlining was the practice of excluding Black people from certain neighborhoods through mortgage and loan practices. The effects of redlining are still here, even though banks have auditing that's supposed to stop this from happening. A house purchase is a lifetime purchase. We live in the suburbs. There's not a lot of turnover here. Now, there was a point in Cinnaminson where the catchment for the elementary schools was all by geography. One side of 130 went to New Albany, and the other side of 130 went to Rush. At some point, the state realized that because of the results of redlining, one school had a far higher percentage of minority students than the other, and the solution they came up with was one we use today. One school is K-2, one's for 3 to 5. This is critical race theory in action. You look at policy, you figure out how it impacts today, and you discuss what should be done by whom to level the playing field. By the time our children are juniors and seniors in high school, they should absolutely be able to discuss these things. They are almost adults. To be able to have these discussions, we have to equip them by teaching them all about American history and culture before high school. So we teach them about our melting pot and our salad bowl, and we teach them about how our intelligent, well-rounded founding fathers envisioned our brand of democracy and American ingenuity and invention, and we teach them about slavery and immigration and civil rights, because they are all part of what it means to be an American. So I would ask what people are objecting to exactly. Are other cultures than your own just not important to you? Was slavery okay if George Washington was the one doing it? Is racism over now? And who's going to tell the Klansmen that put up recruitment flyers in our town just 4 years ago? So to the board, I encourage you to please be as transparent as possible with every one of these curriculum changes, whether they've been discussed or if they're going to be discussed in the future, so that people will have to justify their objections line by line in a public forum, and we can all see what the objections really are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Quinn. Give it a 5. You can move on.
Okay. With no other comments, we'll move on to comments from the board.
Sir, I'd ask if you would please remain standing where you were previously. Since you've chosen not to wear a mask this meeting, I'd ask that you please remain over there. Again, if you would, please state your name and address for the record. Because you're choosing to disobey an executive order and a policy now of the district to not wear a mask, so I'm asking you to limit your exposure to just the area that you were standing, and that's going to be my final comment, and I'm going to ask you to remain over there to offer your comments. Please go ahead.
His name and address.
It would appear as though the microphone is wired and will not be made available. I can hear you very clearly. I'm certain the others can hear you as well. If you could, please start by stating your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Dominic, and I am a Cinnaminson resident. Since the Board of Ed is discriminating, segregating me...
Dominic, it is the policy of the board to please share your full name and full address for the record.
You know my name and you know my address.
I actually don't, but that's regardless of it. I'm asking you to state your name and address for the record. You could choose not to do it, and I will choose not to hear your comments.
My name is Dominic, and I live at 108 Harper Boulevard.
Thank you.
Since the Board of Ed is discriminating, segregating me now to my constitutional rights to breathe, I will stand here. Hi, my name is Dominic, and I am here to address the fact that you guys are violating all of our students' rights by trying to force us to wear masks and vaccines. Wearing a mask is satanic, and on the box of the mask it says does not prevent COVID-19. By refusing any student to come into a school that their parents pay for with tax money is a violation of my rights. Since we have rights to this building, therefore you cannot remove me or deny me entry to this property, because our parents are investors in the school. Also, you are not doctors, and by telling us we have to put masks on and take our temperatures and vaccines means you are practicing medicine out of license, which is a crime and can be punished to 1 to 8 years in prison, depending on the crime. And it is absolutely inappropriate to have vaccine drive at school, since you are not a hospital, and your job as a school facility is to teach, not practice medicine. Also, by separating kids that wear masks and don't wear masks is discrimination and segregation. And by telling kids to wear masks, you are telling them to be quiet and shut up. But I will not be silent, and I will stand up for what I believe in. And I think our school has no right to teach these kids about sex. It is not their place and should be taught by the parents. And the critical race theory will cause more segregation than there has ever been before. Because you want me to apologize for my whiteness? No, that's not happening. And God made me and every other human being perfect in his eyes. You tell me this, you put two little kids together, two different races. Do you think they see color? No, they see their friend. And honestly, I don't think you have any right to tell us kids what to do if you're not in school every day. This board should be run by kids who know and feel the same way about this. And to be honest, school will be a much peaceful place if you talk about God and who doesn't seek hope. But you won't teach about God, but you want to teach about us about the ways of Satan. That makes absolutely no sense. And honestly, if you think vaccines, masks, and teaching about Satan and segregation is okay, I would like for the Board of Ed to please give me your resignation by the end of tonight. It's about time we get real people in here who actually care about us kids and love education. Thank you for your time, and God bless.
Any other comments? If you would, please, could you please wear your face mask properly?
My name is
Thank
Mary
you.
Beth Hankins. I live at 705 Winter Drive.
Would you mind pulling it over your nose as well?
Sure. I spoke at the June meeting. It was virtual. I also, brought up CRT, and I just wanted to know how it was going to be introduced into the curriculum. I still haven't seen anything. I'm not disagreeing with the program wholeheartedly, but I just think that there's things that are being, that was signed in the law by Murphy on March 1st, 2021. I just don't agree with the whole program on the outline of what I've seen on age appropriate. Who decides what's age appropriate for our children? Who decides that because one person thinks it's okay, that it's okay for everyone? Also, on August 10th, the NEA had a Zoom meeting that was shared by the NJEA. The main focus of the meeting was the REACH app. And for those of you that don't know, the REACH app tracks teachers' interactions with peers and vaccine-eligible students. It basically said that the NEA outlined teachers as trusted community professionals, so they could speak to our kids freely about vaccinations, if they choose to, why they should do it, the pros of it, things like that. So I want to know, what is the district's policy regarding the promotion of the vaccination? Will the district's teachers be logging conversations had with students via the REACH app? And will educators also be incorporating informed consent into these conversations? Also, the thing that killed me the most about the REACH app is that it's an Apple app. The NEA had it in a Zoom meeting. I've spoken to several people who have seen the Zoom meeting, attended. There's monetary rewards that would be offered to the teacher who received the most points for speaking to the most students and peers about the vaccine and pushing the vaccine. That's a bribe. They're using our children. It's manipulation. If I choose to not have my child vaccinated, that is my right as a parent. I don't need it brought into the school. I don't need my children's teachers talking about it to them. That should not be in school. This is a public school. My kids come here to learn, not to be indoctrinated. The public school system needs to teach them, and that's it. My children have parents who are fully capable of making these choices for them. Students in Hoboken, New Jersey, K through 12, now need to be subjected to weekly testing if they're not vaccinated in order to be able to attend school. How long before we are put in the same situation? I know that there's parents that want to vax and there's parents that don't want to vax, but for those that don't want to vax, how long until we are put in the same situation as those parents in Hoboken? We have to vax up, mask up, or take weekly tests. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than later. So be the voice and speak for your kids.
Any other members of the public that wish to comment at this time?
Hi, I'm Jackie Snelevich, 712 Barberry Drive. I'm a Cinnaminson resident, have lived here my entire life. My husband and I both grew up, graduated from Cinnaminson. Reason we stayed here to raise our 4 children. Our 2 oldest are in high school, a junior and a freshman. And I guess I'm here tonight to ask, what is our plan for homecoming? My husband, we loved homecoming. It's something we still talk about with our friends. We still have pictures, we laugh about, we joke about. It's something we need to bring back, and it's something these kids need. All that we're talking about, masks and everything else, things that we can do, we need to do. And I think homecoming needs to be brought back. I did see that it was penciled in, I think, for October 16th, which happens to be the same day as the Cinnaminson Festival, which I find ironic. Cinnaminson Festival, from what I've read, we're going to have food trucks, we are going to have bands, we are going to have different organizations come, we're even going to have fireworks. The town's going to come together and be outside, which is fine. So my hope is that there's a committee that can figure out a way for our kids to have a homecoming dance outside, get some tents, same night, and guess what? The kids can watch the fireworks. We can bring them all together. I don't know what needs to be done or how or where the money comes from, but I think we got to make it work and not push it off until the spring. That's when prom is and everything else. So I just ask that you please try your best and help our kids have a high school that they'll remember and talk about for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello there.
Sure, if you talk to your staff, you will find that they also do not approve of the mandate. So I ask mask. I've been without a mask. Haven't gotten sick, been around a lot of people, been here, been there, been everywhere. Why can't students be free to go to school and breathe freely? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Callista Klein, 2619 Riverton Road. I just want to take a minute to thank the board. I was very pleased when I saw the Pirate Path back. My students stayed full virtual last year, and I knew going into this year that there wouldn't be the virtual option, which was, you know, at points I hope there might be, but I'm really excited to get them back into the classroom. They have all missed it to varying degrees. And so I'm very happy to see that the board has put together a plan that will keep them in the classroom. As was mentioned, there are a lot of states that are not having mask mandates, and they're having lots of quarantines as well. I hope that the policies that you're putting in place are going to get them in the classroom and keep them in the classroom. And from my interactions with parents in Cinnaminson, I feel like you do have your finger on the pulse, is that the biggest thing is that they want their kids going into school and not being quarantine flip-flop between multiple kids in the district. And some quarantine now and then quarantine later, to get them in, keep them safe. So I just wanted to take a second to say thank you. I like the plan, and I think you've put a lot of work into doing what's best for the kids.
Thank you.
We good? Anyone else?
All right.
Yes, we got one more.
108 Harbor Boulevard. There is no statutory law that requires employees and students to wear masks, get their temperature taken, or stay 6 feet apart. It is a law. It's not, no, it's not. It's just like a wall. Constitution, buddy. It's not. In fact,
Ma'am, if you would please continue, thank you.
In fact, if you require your employees and students to wear masks to restrict their movement or entry if they are not wearing a mask, you are at risk for violating several federal and state laws. Any violation of the following laws will be reported, and you personally will be at risk for fines and imprisonment upon conviction of these crimes. Our U.S. federal laws, U.S. Constitution, First Amendment right to assemble, right to freedom of speech, right to religious expression. Requiring someone to wear a mask as a condition to assemble in your place of public accommodation is an infringement of the right protected under the U.S. Constitution, the highest law of the land. No law is valid or lawful that violates the Constitution. No health order, no emergency order, no state of emergency, no municipal ordinance or state policy may suspend or violate the Constitution, period. U.S. Constitution, Fourth Amendment, right to privacy. Forcing a person to wear a mask without their consent is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Further, gathering vital statistics such as taking one's temperature is a violation of a person's right to privacy. Violation of this protection will result in your actions being reported to the U.S. Department of Justice, which is required by law to investigate civil rights violations. No law is valid or lawful that violates the Constitution. No health order, emergency order, state of emergency, no municipal order, or store policy may suspend or violate the Constitution. U.S. Title 52, Civil Rights Act of 1964, unlawful to discriminate in place of public accommodations. Your business established is legally defined as a place of public accommodation, and as such, you may not prohibit entry by discriminating against someone with a medical condition, as you would not be able to deny entry to someone based on their skin color, you may not deny entry to someone based on their bare face. Having someone else do stuff denies the full enjoyment and equal access to facilities, services, and accommodations as required by law. The U.S. Title 42, Section 121, unlawful to deny entry to persons with disability who receive medical conditions. Your business establishment is legally defined as a place of public accommodation, and as such, you may not prohibit entry by discriminating against someone with a medical condition or disability. If someone is unable or willing to wear a face mask for any of those reasons, you may not prohibit their entry, nor may you file a charge against them. Just as you would not be able to deny someone in a wheelchair, you cannot deny entry to someone not wearing a mask. Children segregated is not a reasonable accommodation, as it denies the full enjoyment and equal access to facilities, services, and accommodations as required by law. Unmask our children. Enough already. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Lubitsky. I live at 2210 Clover Drive. My son just started middle school, and my question is more tactical. I'm a teacher, first of all, and I feel protected wearing a mask. I came in contact with students, many students last year, who had COVID. We had to quarantine. I had to go home to my family at the end of the day, and, God forbid, I had to pass that along to them. It just made my sense of it just made me feel easier. Other than going into the school year, bringing everyone back, and then saying, oh, well, we didn't wear masks, I guess we should have, whoops, and I don't feel like being a guinea pig. So I feel comfortable with my son wearing a mask. My question would be just visually for me, bringing the kids into the cafeteria, having the locker situation, just kind of how you're monitoring that, like how close they will be, and also, just being feasible, like a 6th grade boy, how are they keeping their hands clean, things like that are just really my questions that I had. But I think, going back last year, my son was really excited to come back with a mask on, without a mask. He was just happy to see his friends, so I'm glad we can get back. But those just visual questions I had. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Resident. I am a former Cinnaminson graduate. Not one mask fits all, not one vaccine fits all. The kids shouldn't be in school with a mask. I haven't been able to experience college experience due to the mask mandate or having to be vaccinated. Not everyone, it doesn't fit everyone. These kids should be able to experience the school experience like I did, at least school. I'm missing out on all my college years because of the mask mandate and having to be vaccinated. No one should ask what my medical is, and no one should need to know my personal business. If I choose not to wear a mask, that's my business. If I choose not to get vaccinated, that's also my business. No one should be asking me what if I'm vaccinated or if I'm going to wear a mask. No, it's discriminating on everyone. You violate everybody's rights. Everyone should be asking for medical from anybody. No one in here is a doctor. So I think these kids should go back to school, and it should be up to them if they want to wear a mask or not. You shouldn't have to separate these children from each other. They need to have friends. They need to talk. Separating them is segregating them. If we're going back to being separated from history, they had all these kids separated, and, well, not kids, by colors. They were separated by colors. But now everybody comes together, and now you guys are trying to separate everybody again. Nobody, just because they don't want to wear a mask or get vaccinated, doesn't mean that they can't come to school and learn. They're kids. They need to learn. They need to go out. They need to see their friends. If everyone can have these gatherings here and we're all in the same room, if people can go out to eat and sit away from each other and take their masks off, I don't understand why can't we do that here? Sit them like if they're in a restaurant. Kids that don't want to wear a mask don't want to wear a mask, sit them together. Or it shouldn't even matter, to be honest. I don't know. But, yeah, masks should be optional, and it should be up to the kids. If they want to wear a mask, they can wear a mask. If they don't need to.
Nope.
Nope.
One more.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Jones. I'm at 706 Perry Boulevard. I said I wasn't going to say anything. However, I want to thank the board for your continuous support in doing whatever the state tells you to do. I know it's been tough. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 30 plus years. It's tough. But I just have some questions because I'm just a little confused. My daughter's going to be entering high school, and I know that there's a mask mandate. However, I know someone might have asked this question already, but I just want to make sure that it's down and I get some clarification on to the kids who parents don't want them to wear masks. What are the options? I don't think I heard anybody say anything about that. I know masks are going to be mandated, but what about the kids who parents feel as though they shouldn't? Second, like how are they going to, what's going to be the plan? Medical, is there going to be a note required or what's, I just want to, my daughter's going to have a lot of questions and I just want to be ready to answer. My next question is the critical race theory. Is that going to be a vote on that, or is that something that's going to take place whether or not we like it or not, or want it or not? That was my next question. And again, I thank you guys for being in such a tough and rough position right now. And masks are uncomfortable. I'm in them sometimes 16 hours a day, and it's not this mask. It's tough. And I get it. It's uncomfortable. The kids are uncomfortable. However, I don't think it's up to them whether or not the kids wear a mask. They just have to follow the rules. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. So everybody has their right to their own opinion. I'm not saying you guys are right. I'm not saying that they're wrong, the state is wrong. All I know is this, I'm in nursing, COVID is real, and if the kids could at least get back to school to get some normalcy, and they're asking them to wear a mask, I think that's a better option than them being home. Again, it's a lot. So again, I thank you guys, and I look forward to hearing what the answers are going to be. Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Fitzwater, we can move on.
All right. We're going to move on to board comments.
Laura, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
So I just wanted to address two different things. First of all, as far as masks are concerned, no, we are not doctors, but the American Academy of Pediatrics has recommended universal masking in schools this fall. We also follow the governor's mandate. That is part of our ethics as a sworn-in board member. And I am happy that there are, some people that have never worn a mask and have not gotten sick. But however, there are people in this room that have lost people that they love very dearly due to COVID, and very close relatives, and they have suffered immensely. And to them, I want to let them know that I'm very sorry that you've had to lose family members and that you sometimes have to hear people, say that they didn't get sick, which is a great thing for them. I'm so happy that you have not been sick. And secondly, the governor signed into law that New Jersey school districts promote, this is the quote, from the law, economic diversity, equity, inclusion, tolerance, and belonging in connection with gender and sexual orientation, race and ethnicity, disabilities, and religious tolerance. And the sponsors of that bill, what their next step is, the natural next step is to promote diversity, tolerance, and respect for all. Critical race theory is not required by the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. It never was. You can look them up online, and this is directly from the New Jersey School Board's website. So I just wanted to put that out there. There is not a vote on curriculum tonight. There was not. And this is how it has been. And so I just wanted to explain that to everybody. the state just believes the students should understand the historically accurate past of our nation, okay, which includes some very difficult history about racial issues, and that's the truth. And so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Quinn. Any other board members want to speak? Okay, then in final thoughts, thank you to Mr. Tyndall and his team for a fantastic job getting our schools ready for students and staff. Welcome to our new teachers and staff. We are so excited to have you join the Cinnaminson family. And welcome back to everyone. We hope everyone in the district enjoys a safe, healthy, fun, and educational school year. And with that, we are going to, executive, right? All right. So, Mr. Bromhill, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gaffney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. The next meeting of the board is September 22nd at 7 p.m.